Well, hello, everybody. Thanks for joining today. We got a lot of stuff to get to. I know everybody wants to know what happened at the neurologist, and so I'm going to tell you about that. First, I'm going to tell you why I'm starting to hate the Apple Corporation and Apple products in general, kind of tell you about the day I've had. But before we even do, and we may even talk about the presidential debate a little bit. I know we normally don't do politics on here. I watched the whole thing, and so I'll give you my thoughts on that as well. First, though, let me tell you about our channel members. We're down quite a few now, and we're down to 5 still. So let's start with the original channel members, work our way up to the most recent. Got 5 altogether. 4 of them have been with us 9 months or longer. And like I said, at some point when we get the merchandise going, we're going to reward them with some free merchandise. So if you're not a channel member, consider doing that. At the bottom of your screen, just below the video, you'll see a $sign. Click on that. You can get more information. It's about $5 a month. You can also like the video, give it a thumbs up. I guess that's the same thing. Share it on your social media platforms and subscribe. Once you subscribe, make sure you hit that bell and select all, and that way you get notifications when future videos come out. All of that stuff is free to do except becoming a channel member, and so keep that in mind. So let me start with why I hate Apple. So I've mentioned on this channel several times before that I'm a beta tester for Apple, or I was a beta tester for Apple, and for a long time it worked great. Recently, they did an update that stopped allowing my heart monitor, or loop recorder would be a better description of it, to work on my phone. The only fix for it was to either wait till iOS 18 came out, and at the time we didn't know when that was coming out. Looks like it's going to be in a few days, or get out of the beta program. So contacted Apple, wanted out of the beta program. They had this ridiculous process you have to go through where you have to put iTunes on your computer, and then it goes in there and puts the regular iOS 17.6 back on your phone. Now, I've got 2 different deals that back up my data. Actually, I've got more than that, but I thought my data was backed up. It showed it was backed up, but when I did this, I lost almost all of the footage I did from that car and truck show. I had an 1 hour and 57-minute video that was very well done, especially by my standards compared to how my videos usually are, and I lost all of that, and there's no way to retrieve it according to Apple. So that was a little bit frustrating, but I took it as a live and learn thing. Wasn't horribly upset. But the problem was when I finish, I go to sync it back with my smartwatch, and my smartwatch is used to being on iOS 18 that hadn't come out yet. And my phone's going, oh, that's not compatible software because you're on 17.6 now. So I tried to revert my watch back to the stock OS so that it would work. I was working with Apple. Apple said, hey, we can't really do it. You're going to have to go to an Apple store. Well, the nearest Apple store is about 350 miles away. And so they said, hey, we've got great news. You can go to Best Buy. So I made an appointment for Best Buy for today on my day off. Go to Best Buy. They go, nope, we can't do it. If it was a hardware issue, if the screen was cracked or something like that, we could fix that. But software issues, we can't do. They said, you need to take it to You Break, I Fix. They said, they're Apple certified. They can do warranty work. Apple had told me this is going to be a warranty issue. Shouldn't cost you anything. And so I go to that store, and they say, nope, we can't do it either. So I get in contact with Apple again. Apple says, we can set it up where you mail it to us and we fix it. And I said, okay. And so they said, we're going to have a guy call you. The guy calls me. We talk for a minute. He says it can take anywhere from 7 to 21 days to get your watch back. Well, we're less than a week away from when that update happens. So I'm like, why would I send my watch away for potentially 3 weeks when I can just wait a few days and get it fixed this way? But even that's not the point. When you get on Apple and on their ecosystem, I think at this point, everybody pretty much agrees that it's an inferior product, but they get you in their ecosystem to where you kind of have to stay. And that's fine. That's all of these companies are guilty of that. If you get a Samsung, you have to use a Samsung watch now. If you get a Google, they want you to use the Google watch now. All of them try to trap you in their ecosystem. And quite honestly, that's just good marketing. I get why they do it, but there's some things on Apple when I say it's inferior, and I know some people aren't going to like this. For example, you can't do split screen. So like on a Samsung, on any kind of Google type phone, Android, let's say, you can split the screen. You can have YouTube at the top. You can have text messages at the bottom, and you can multitask, do several things at once. Apple does not allow you to do that. Now, in fairness to Apple, there are some things that they do better. They are more expensive. My phone, back when I got it, was about, I want to say it was around $1,800. I got the 1 terabyte of storage, 15 Pro Max. Seems like it was $1,800. The watch was around $800. So I've got a substantial amount of money invested here, and I've got products that I can't use the way they were intended to be used because of this having so much trouble downgrading. I've had to get a special device in my house that uploads my heart information, and this device works great in a house. It's going to be terrible on a truck. I don't think it would last 2 weeks on a truck. And so this stuff's got to get fixed, especially when I give you the other news later and kind of more about my situation and what's going on. But I'm extremely frustrated with Apple today. And I know some of you love them, and that's fine. And for most people, it's probably fine. But because of what I do with all the social media stuff and all the other extracurricular things I'm involved in, it does not work well at all for me. And honestly, if I could have any phone on the market right now, I would have some variety of Google Pixel and probably the Google Pixel Pro Fold, 9 Pro Fold or whatever it's called, or the Google Pixel 9 XL, Pro XL, or whatever it is. One of the bigger Google Pixel phones. The last Google Pixel I had was a 6 Pro, and it was a great phone. But granted, that was 3 years ago when it came out. But anyway, this isn't a tech channel, and we got to get to the neurology stuff. Let's talk about the debate. I would give Trump a slight edge. He was kind of having to deal with the moderators and with Kamala. I think Kamala did far better than anybody expected her to do. That doesn't mean I agree with her, but I think she represented her side as best as she could. I feel like more than likely there will be another debate as it gets closer to November, probably mid to end October. But Trump had the deck stacked against him, and I feel like he did the best he could for the situation he was in. I think you could point fingers at both of them and say both of them kind of danced around some of the questions. And, I don't even fault them for that. Both sides, they're going to present their side in the best possible way. And sometimes that means sidestepping a question. So I get it. But, yeah, that's kind of what's going on here. So now let's talk about the neurology appointment. So Monday morning at 8:00, I went to the neurologist. He gave me an exam, and then later after that, I went to work. And the good news is he signed off on me. He wrote the deal that says I'm eligible to drive a truck again. I've still got to wait till the 14th. So in 3 days or so, whenever I can get time, I'm going to run down and take my physical and return to the world of driving as soon as I'm eligible to that. So yes, you heard that right. I'm going to be going back to driving. I did talk to some local companies today. The problem with the local companies around here, uh, they're offering like $1,200 a week. And I know to some of you that sounds like a lot of money, but by the time you take out taxes and insurance and road expenses, even if you minimize your road expenses, it's just not a lot of money. It's $700-800 a week at that point, and then you're not making any more than what I'm making right now. So it probably means at some point I'm going to have to go back over the road or do something dedicated. Right now I'm in the process waiting, or not waiting. I'm in the process of talking to different companies and wading through opportunities that are out there. As I've told y'all all along, if there's some place that you think's really bang up, don't tell me here in the comments, email me. I mean, you can put it in the comments, but sometimes by the end of the show, I forget where you've said, and so it won't get contacted. But if you've got somewhere that you think is a good fit, let me know and I'll look at it. So having said that, the big question that comes up is, Todd, you're always talking about how good SRO logistics are. Have you and Scott talked yet? And why ain't you just going to SRO like you said? You've been telling us how great he is. Well, here's the honest truth. Scott is great. It's the best place I've ever worked at SRO Logistics. And you can still contact him at safety@srologistics.com. The problem is right now I'm coming back in the worst possible situation. As a matter of fact, if most of you contacted me and you were in my position, I'd tell you don't do it. But for me to go back into a lease with him, I would have to count on several good weeks up in the beginning. I just don't have the reserves I had before. As a matter of fact, I'm in pretty bad shape. And plus, I don't know if I'm going to have a little rust on me that I got to get knocked off. That's going to take, a few weeks to where I can run those higher mile weeks and things like that. I feel like I'll be okay. I've done a couple of trips to El Paso. I've gone to East Texas for my dad's funeral. I've gone to Dallas once or twice. So I've done some longer trips and I held up pretty good. So I think I'm okay, but I kind of want to test myself. The problem with going to Scott is that Freightliner's still there, the one I had, and it's got somewhere close to 800,000 miles on it. If I get out and I have a breakdown, and I mean something big, $7,000-8,000, I don't have the money to fix it right now. And I don't know in this economy if Scott would be able to help me out. So at some point, possibly tomorrow, I'm going to call Scott and tell him the situation. But that's the problem. It's nothing against Scott. He's a great guy. And at some point, I feel pretty confident we will be working together again. I loved it. I loved being able to pass through the house as often as I did. But I got to do something different, and I got to do something different quick. I've got a cardiologist appointment on October 3rd, and I wanted to at least stay at my current company till October 3rd because I've got really good health insurance. But and then at the end of October, I get like almost 2 weeks of vacation. So I wanted to stay and use all that before I left, but my current financial situation's not going to allow that. And now that I'm eligible to drive a truck again, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be putting out applications and talking to a lot of different recruiters at different companies, talking to some of you guys that have knowledge about these companies and see what y'all think and recommend. So if you get a call from me, that's probably what it's pertaining to. But the good news is I've been cleared. Dr. Phil's, he didn't even hesitate. He looked at me, asked me a few questions, kind of poked and prodded for a second and said, "You're definitely fine to drive a truck." Some of you that have talked to me on the phone know that my memory's not great right now. So I've got to take a lot of notes and things like that. But cognitively, I feel like I'm back. I'm not stuttering near as much. And I think I'm a little more clear in my videos now. So I think I'm ready to jump back in. I'm definitely going to miss being home every day. I like going to church. I like, having a little bit of a social life and hanging out with friends and family and things like that. But people are worried about me. Some family have said, well, we're worried about you getting back in a truck and stress. having stress in your life. And I said, well, there is a stress to truck driving, and anybody that's driven a truck knows that stress. But there's also a stress to being home every day and not having enough money to pay your bills after you've worked all week. And so I don't like living that way. I like keeping my financial obligations. And so I am going to be returning to the truck out of necessity. And so some of you will start seeing me at the truck stops again. And of course, I'm wrestling with how soon I'll tell everybody, because if I come on here and I go, I'm working for ABC Company, first thing everybody says, oh, here goes Trucker Todd trying to recruit. And if I come on here and I don't say where I work, then they're like, here Trucker Todd is, he's got this good deal and he won't tell nobody else about it. So I'm going to have to figure that out in the coming days and weeks about how soon to tell y'all what I'm doing and where I'm at. And but as soon as I know, I'll be sharing that information with y'all on here. So I think I've gone long enough. I've talked about 17 minutes. Let's get in here and get some of those comments knocked out. Very first in today was Roger Berry. He says, I'm here somewhere in the Pines, Southwest Georgia. Hope everyone is doing well and safe. You pulling one of those paper loads? And he's been waiting a while. It's been about an hour and a half since he did that message. Definitely the first one in today. And Sally Port says, stay safe. Thank you very much for that. You too. Sally Port says, I was told at 25 I would be in a wheelchair. I'd be wheelchair bound by 40. And then she says, I walk over 3 miles a day, maintain our 5-acre lawn, and cook and clean. Don't believe everything Doc tells you. Oh, I'm 70. Yeah, that's a really good point. Good and bad. The doctor thought that within 8 weeks I'd be 100%. And I just now feel like I'm in the 90 percentile. I still don't think I'm 100%, but they were right. I don't have any permanent damage that I can see. I think I'm going to be all right. But you're right. I was glad to get that knocked out, though. I didn't sleep good the night before. I was afraid I'd oversleep the appointment, and I was a little nervous. I ain't going to lie. But I was relieved at how easily he said, oh, yeah, Todd, you could definitely drive a truck. He's like, I have no problem writing that letter for you. And he didn't write the letter the way I wanted. He put it on that in the physician notes on the paperwork they give you. But he told me if I got there to do my physical and they wanted more, that he would write or say whatever they needed him to write or say. He was that confident in me. So makes me feel good for sure. Adam says he's here from the field. We are cutting cord, and that sounds like fun. And Ramon, channel members here as well. Thank you for being here, both of you. Gary Cook says, I'm listening while I'm driving. Just left Dallas on my way to Memphis, Tennessee. Good old Memphis. From what I understand, nothing's changed in Memphis. It's still kind of dirty and crime-ridden, but I'm sure I'll be passing through there soon. Hiya, friends from Effingham. That comes from Robbie Ross, who's also a channel member. Red Raider Reloading says, hello, all. Hello, Red Raider. He says he's sitting in the chiropractor waiting for a doctor. It's funny you mentioned that. I was telling my wife last night because I've been having a sore back. She said, I told her, I said, I may have to go to a chiropractor soon. Something I would have never considered before, but I either need one of that or those inversion tables that tilt backwards and pop your back. They kind of turn you upside down. My sister used to have one of those, and they do wonders on your back. Red Raider Reloading says, sucks getting older, paying for all the stupid annex now that these aches and pains have started. Yeah, I got a friend that he used to say that the winter weather reminded him of when he played football, that all his old injuries come back. And there's a lot of truth to that. The colder it gets, and we haven't got that yet here in West Texas, we're getting hammered with heat, but when it starts getting cold, you'll have aches and pains that you didn't know you had. And so look forward to that, youngins. Rose says, "Hey, Todd, hope you're doing well." I am. Thanks for asking. Good to see you again. And Rose says, "So glad to hear you're cleared to return." Yep. Back on the highways, coming to a city near you soon, it sounds like. Hey, Siri, turn off hotspot.
Okay, personal hotspot is now off.
For some reason, my hotspot just came on my phone. I don't know why. But I got that off. One of those bugs on Apple that they claim they don't have. I'll tell you another thing Apples do. I'll be sitting there reading an article on my phone, and it'll switch to the camera app on its own, and nobody can figure out why. But Apple is a refined product with no bugs. That's what everybody always told me. I fell for the con. Roger Berry, no, I got a fertilizer load for Gadsden, Alabama. All righty, well, that's good then. Those paper loads aren't terrible as long as they got the load ready when you get there. I have had to sit there like 18 hours before when I worked at DART, and I was not a happy camper. So that question has come up as well while we're on the subject, and I'm waiting for y'all to type some comments. Why don't I go back to Swift? Well, Swift, I can't go back. They have a deal with that accident. I have to wait 5 years, and it's been a year and a half. So I can't go back to Swift. They're off the table right now. So what about DART? Why don't I go back to DART? Well, they've had several leadership changes at DART, including one very recently. Not saying I wouldn't go to DART, but I kind of want to know what I'm walking into before I get there. So what about Roadrunner? Roadrunner several years ago, they've also had several leadership changes and even structural changes, the way they do things. And I'm not sure what opportunities are available for me there. They're really kind of geared now towards a team operation. I am friends with some of the recruiting department over there, and I may have a conversation with them, but the true fact is there's probably not a lot of opportunities available for me with any of those three companies, especially living outside of their hiring areas like I do. But we'll see. I'm talking to a lot of places right now. That's what I've been doing most of the day. That and getting the running around from Apple. Gary Cook says, I may be leaving trucking soon. I'm going broke. I've lost a lot of money. It's not worth it. Yeah, I saw Cash is King's video this week, and he had a really, really good week. So I think some people are doing well, but I think it's hit and miss right now. And everybody's got to make that judgment call, how long they can hang on before it's time to step out. And I may be an idiot for stepping back in. I may be, but we won't know till we try. And I honestly don't feel I can do any worse than what I'm doing right now. I'm netting $700 a week right now, and I think even in a bad lease purchase I could net $1,500 or so. So I'm not sure that almost doubling my money doesn't make sense right now. Get down here and get this super chat from my good friend and channel member Robbie Ross, $20. Oh, it's a super sticker. Thank you so much for that. And usually he puts a comment about the Cowboys. I think we're all happy with how the Cowboys played last Sunday, and I wish them continued success. They are doing better than what I was expecting for sure. But thank you for that, Robbie Ross. I really appreciate it. He did. He put epic fail on there. That's hilarious. Yes, sir. If you watch this channel, you're bound to see epic failures. And Robbie Ross says most of our paper loads are drop and hook. Actually, about 90% of our loads are drop and hook. Well, that's definitely not a bad thing. Several companies advertise that, and you always wonder if it's true or not. But I'm glad you're at a place that has that kind of drop and hook. I think I know where you work, but I wouldn't swear to it. Sally Port says they're chopping our fields. Go these truckers that drive through fields. Roger Berry, I'm glad you're cleared to drive. My company has a terminal in Lubbock for company drivers only, though. I wouldn't be opposed to that. If you're not comfortable saying where it's at on here, text me and let me know, or email me at todd@truckertodd.net, because something in Lubbock would be great. That way, potentially, I might be able to stay involved in some of the things I'm involved in around here. Bobby Kohler, Todd, you are a real used car salesman. Facts. No, I'm a real former used car salesman. It's been, I think, about a decade since the last time I sold cars. Don't hold me to that, but I think it's been about 8 or 10 years since I sold cars. In fact, I think it's been that long since I sold anything professionally. Now, you guys know that on Facebook Marketplace, I sell some stuff from time to time when I no longer need it. But no, I'm not a car salesman. I'm currently working for a company. Well, I guess my current job could be considered sales, but I've only been there about 5 months. And currently, I can share with everybody, because some people, I've heard people say, well, he's not a good salesman. I'm currently number 3 at the company. Based on the latest statistics I saw and how they score us and all that. So there's probably 100 people in there. You could say I'm in the top 3% and be pretty safe doing that. Gary Cook says the Chicago Bears also won. Yes, sir. They're looking pretty sharp out there. Robbie Ross, channel member, says his comment about the Cowboys was blocked. And I can't see it because I have to put my phone on Do Not Disturb when I do these shows, or it just rings constantly. If you did send it to me in a text, I'll try to see it real quick, though. Yeah, just text me what you were going to say, and I'll read it on here, Robbie Ross. All right, we'll give it a few minutes and see if he texts me what he said about the Cowboys. I want to go back to this other comment, and that'll give y'all more time to type your comments on here about being a salesman. So I don't know what would trigger that comment. Kind of gives me a headache thinking about it. Has anybody heard me try to sell anything today? Just checking. This video's been going 30 minutes. Have I mentioned, hey, buy this, hey, buy that? Has anybody heard me sell anything today? Has anybody heard me promote a company today? I didn't think so. All right, I just wanted to get that in there for the troll account, the fake picture, the Adam Sandler picture. Just wanted to answer that troll and give him the time he wanted. I normally don't shine a light on a cockroach, but what the heck, let's do it today. I'm in one of those moods. Roger Berry says it's Averett Express, home every weekend. Most times I don't leave out till Monday morning. Bring home average 11 to 12.75. Excellent benefits, wonderful 401k being in Lubbock. Yeah, so I did, and I guess at the start of the show I talked about I'd talked to some local companies around here, and they were paying $1,200 a week. That's a big difference from what Roger Berry's doing. Those other companies were talking $1,200 gross before they start taking everything out. If he's bringing home $1,100 to $1,275 after deductions, something like that might be the answer. I wouldn't get rich, but it would allow me to stay in the area. So I might look into something like that. I do know where their terminal is, and I may run down there and have a talk with them. Problem is, my next day off is Wednesday, and so it would be, well, Sunday, but there's nobody going to be there on Sunday. So next Wednesday, I may run by there and see what they say if I hadn't found something by that point. And channel member Robbie Ross says fuel is getting down. Paid $2.56 a gallon. That's good to hear. That'll finally give you drivers some relief. Roger Berry, you probably wouldn't leave the state of Texas. Roger Berry says, isn't he the same guy that said you lived in government housing? Probably, and I'm not going to fall for that trap and say where I live, but I promise you it's not government housing. I'd be surprised if anybody living here is even on government assistance. You never know these days, but I'd be shocked. It's a very nice apartment complex in a pretty nice part of town. And I trust me when I tell you, because they look at several months of income. You have to make 3 times your rent to live here. And yeah, I wouldn't have qualified for government housing or any kind of financial assistance. Right after the stroke, I would have gladly accepted any assistance, and there's none available. And so swing and a miss for him, but good for him. He's welcome to think whatever he wants to. Pittsburgh Steelers greatest NFL team ever proved me wrong. I like the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not going to attack that. Let's see. Robbie Ross, channel member. I couldn't send it for the money. I understand. But you can text it to me and I'll read it on here if you want to say something about the Cowboys. All righty, so we're caught up on the comments. We've been going about 34 minutes. This may be one of our shortest videos either. I just wanted to get that information out to you. I knew it wasn't a lot, and I thought about just doing a recorded video that would answer all of this, but I'm trying to get to where we do a Wednesday and a Sunday live show. I know I said between 3 and 4. I was about an hour late today. The next couple of weeks, we're going to be playing with this and getting our times down on when I can do these. Apple screwed up everything today, but definitely we're going to have a Wednesday afternoon and a Sunday afternoon show for as long as I can. And we may go back to Tuesdays and Thursdays once I get in a truck. It'll just depend where I'm at and what I'm doing. But yeah, there's a lot to look forward to. Definitely a good time to be subscribed because there's going to be a lot happening in the coming weeks and probably in the coming days. It's very possible by the Sunday show I'm going to have a lot to tell y'all. So make sure you're subscribed one more time while y'all are typing your comments. I don't know how many thumbs up we've got, but do that. It helps YouTube pass this video around. And share this video on your social media platforms. But yeah, it looks like the comments have died off. So this is going to surprise y'all, but I actually like this guy. He says some funny stuff. I think I know who it is. And what he doesn't realize, if it's who I think he is, I think he's hilarious. And I would not block him. He could come in here under his regular channel name and it'd be fine. But this next comment's funny. It said, broke my heart when you beat So I think it was 1995. Yeah, I wish I could argue with that. The problem with the Cowboys is not Dak Prescott. It's not the offensive line. It's Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones is the problem with the Cowboys. And I don't know that we'll ever get another championship until we get rid of Jerry Jones. And he's talked about selling the team the last couple of years. But yeah, it's true. We get to the playoffs and we choke. And so, yeah, I think that's hilarious. And I think you're right. It's about Pittsburgh and 95 and the Cowboys and all of that. So good for you, Bobby. That's a good, funny comment. Gary Cook, would you give your current job a notice? It would depend on if I could or not. And what do I mean by that? I've always been conflicted about that. When I was growing up, yes, you always gave a company a notice. I think the prevailing opinion about that has changed. I know in trucking, if you give a notice, it's a good way to get stranded far from your house. They'll route you to the furthest terminal from your house. So in trucking, you definitely don't want to give a notice. With this company, if there's a way I can do it, I will. It's going to depend on when I can go to orientation. And honestly, it's going to depend on financially how long I can hang in there. But the current guy that I work under is a great guy. I just got back on his team this week. And if there's a way to do it, then I definitely will. Now, why am I conflicted? Because they're going through there right now, firing 10 to 12 people a week, and they're not giving those people any notice. They're not telling those people, hey, you know what? 2 weeks from now, you don't have a job here anymore. They're just coming in and firing them. They're not saying, hey, you're fired, but we're going to give you 2 weeks of severance pay. And so I have to weigh it, and I'm going to have to see how they continue to treat my coworkers and how they continue to treat me. And I'm going to have to look at my bank account and see how serious things get. But yeah, I would love to give them a notice if possible. I've talked about it on here. You don't want to burn a bridge that you may need to cross again one day. And I've gone back to trucking companies that I swore I'd never work for again. And so I might think right now that I'd never work there again. But if my financial situation changed and I didn't have the debt that I have, then I might consider going back there at some point. It's not a terrible job and the benefits are great. But right now they're going through a lot of changes that would make me really have to ponder that and decide if I would give them a notice or not. And Rose says, wishing you all the best with your job search, Todd. Thank you, Rose. I appreciate that. Rose has been great. She's offered me a lot of advice in the past and suggestions. And so I'm real thankful and appreciative of her and everybody else that's done that. The comments have definitely slowed down. This Wednesday night time slot may not be the best spot for us, but hopefully next Wednesday we'll have a bigger turnout as word gets out that I'm here. Same thing with Sunday. You guys keep me in mind Sunday afternoon. I know football's on. Record it and let's talk for a little bit. But if we start seeing that the football season is interfering, then we may have to come up with a different time slot. We'll just kind of play it by ear the next couple of weeks. But that's it for now, folks. I'm out of here. Y'all have a great night, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.